Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another Straight Up Solo. And in this episode, we are going to take a look at Deep Regrets. And I'm going to show you the solo mode of this game, which is drastically different than the multiplayer mode. All right, let's get started. Okay, folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have, I really do appreciate that support. Thank you very much. So, the solo game is much different than the multiplayer game, all right? And it's fundamentally a different feeling game as well. Now, what does that mean? Well, the solo game is not competitive at all. You can also play it cooperative if you want, but it is basically a game about surveying and catching every single fish in all these decks, all right? And you not only have to catch them, but you have to return them to port and then count them, okay? And there are basically 9 categories of fish. There you've got depth 1, depth 2, and depth 3. In each category, you have a small, a medium, and a large fish, or a middling, as they say. And how do I know that? Well, you can actually see the shadows here. This one's got a little teeny shadow in here. This represents the small. These two over here right now are large. This one's a bit bigger. That's a medium. You got a medium over here. You got a large. So you've got some understanding of what the type of fish is going to be, all right? You can only fish at your depth or higher. So you can spend dice to move your boat down. And unlike the multiplayer game and the solo game, you move it down, it stays there from round to round. And this game is played in 5 rounds, all right, or 5 days of the week, okay? Now you get some other information too. You get an idea of the ratios, although you got to look and make sure you check out the errata. There is some errata on some of the cards and some of these spots here and in the rule book. So there is a 2-to-1 ratio of fair fish to foul fish, a 1-to-1 in here, and a 1-to-3 in here. Now, what is the difference between fair fish and foul fish? Well, foul fish are going to make you draw these regret cards. And at the end of the game, you're going to sum up the total number of regret value, not cards, but value you have. And you have to subtract from that an equal or greater number of fish value that you would sell it back to the port. Whatever you've subtracted away, you discard, you don't get credit. The rest of it, you cash, you will log, you'll check off the box actually, and then you'll be able to spend that money at the end of the game to invest in new equipment for future games, okay? So for instance here, I've invested in the previous game in a wood and brass reel and a lucky pole. But I can also buy different supplies, I can buy different reels and rods, and each day of the week, I'm allowed to swap out my equipment for what I'm using. So depending on where I'm fishing or what I'm trying to do, I might want to customize, you know, my bait and tackle and everything else to get the job done better. All right, so how does it work? Well, you're gonna start the round by rolling dice. And this, wow, that's a great roll. This is gonna be the total amount of sort of like action points you have to catch fish, all right? Then the first thing you're gonna do is cast. You're gonna pick a shoal, which are these 3 piles here. You're gonna flip the top fish if it's unrevealed. So let's say this is a lot of really good numbers. I'm gonna fish right here. I'll get this large one. All right, so this revealed a Goliath grouper. It's a large and fair. So immediately, if I catch this, I'm gonna write that down, but I'm not gonna check it off. I have to catch it first. Okay, so how do I catch it? Well, this number right here shows the value of dice I have to meet or exceed, and this is the value for the fish. This down here is a special ability I would get if I ate the fish, but I'm not allowed to eat any fish in the solo game. That is one of the mechanics that's not there. So you never get the eat ability. You do get the catch ability, the reveal, other things, sure, but not the eating, okay? Now, the other thing I have when I look at my equipment here, I have once per day, you may re-roll up to 2 of your fresh dice. Well, I certainly don't want to do that here. All right, and then here it says your first fish each day costs 2 less to catch. Well, this one only costs 2, so that means I can catch it for free without actually having to discard a die. But let's say I couldn't catch it. Let's say this was too big or whatever else, or I didn't want to. I would then be forced to discard a die into the spent pool to take a dink. And a dink card gives you some different bonuses and things, but they don't count as fish, and they also don't carry over. But there's a lot of little different things it can do to help you out. make things better. So you're not getting a feeling of being hosed, so to speak, in this game. You get like a consolation prize. All right, so let's go ahead. This lucky pull is going to work, and it's my first fish of the day, right? So that means I literally will get this one for free. So I'm going to set it over here. I'm going to write it down on my list. Now, it is a large fish, depth 1, okay? So it is a fair, and it is a Goliath grouper. And it is worth $4, and its catch difficulty was 2. Okay, I don't check it off, all right? That is my first turn. I go again in my next turn. So I'm going to, since I still have dice to spend, I can still fish. So here I'm going to now reveal, well, I like that. I caught a big one. Let's go ahead and get another big one out of this deck. All right, so this is a tri-tentacle, but it's a foul fish. So that means that I'm going to have to deal with a regret. Also, when I catch it, it says, regret for each foul fish in your hand. Luckily, I don't have any foul fish in my hand, so this is a great time to catch it. It's a difficulty of 4. That means I have to discard the 3 and the 2, okay, to make 4. I don't get changed, so those get spent. But that's a good catch, all right? So I'm going to put it over here in my hold right now, so to speak, in my hand. And again, that was a large. This one is a foul now, and it is a tri-tentacle. Kind of weird thing. Okay, tri-tentacle. It's a 4 and a 4. And I don't exactly remember the specifics of exactly when this catches. I think it's when I think it's right when I catch it. So that to me, yeah, because it says that, take and trigger effects. Okay, take the fish and trigger its effects. So that means to me, I think that I would have to take the one for getting this, which is a marginal regret. I cursed at a none. Oh, I'm sorry, a nagging regret, pardon me. And then since I have this in my hand, I would trigger it again. That's my guess. So let's take that again. Another one. Ooh, deep regret. I partook of human flesh. Gross. And of course, this is a horror game, so you're going to have that nastiness, right? Okay, so that means at the end of the game, if I haven't found a way to get rid of these, I'm going to have to discard $4 worth of fish, or 4 fish bucks worth. That could be this guy, this could be this guy, it could be anything else, okay? So I have one more to go. This is small, medium, and small. So I'm looking over here, the medium or the mid still could be within catchable range. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and flip this over. And I got a mahi-mahi middling fair. So I'll write that one down because I'm going to catch it. Oh, it's only worth 1. All right, well, too bad for me because I have a 3, so that's a little bit wasteful. But I'm certainly going to catch it, all right? So put it right there. No special catchability, but it says, okay, so this is a mahi-mahi. It's a middling fish. Fair. Mahi-mahi. And again, it's worth 2, and it was a difficulty of 1. Okay, I'm out of dice. So that means my round is over. So then what you would do is you would go to the next round where you move this right here. And I would re-roll my dice, and I would reassign any kind of equipment that I have or could use or whatever. So I'd re-roll. Okay, well, that's a rough roll. So now maybe what I want to do is once per day, I may re-roll up to 2 of my fish die. So I'm going to do that right now. Re-roll these 2, hopefully getting some better. All right, a little better. And we go ahead and we do that again. We're going to do that, 5 times, all right? And when I'm done with that, then I'm going to go and basically figure out how much regret I have to cancel with fish. I will check off all the fish that I will then have not discarded at that point, and then I will buy different types of gear for the next run. And so all these different types of gear do different things, okay? There's lots of different ones. So you've got one-time use things in the supply. You've got reels like you saw here, rods. They all give you special abilities, but then they also allow you to buy more dice. You can buy a blue tackle die, a green tackle die, and an orange tackle die, which you'll be able to roll for the rest of the game every turn. So those are really good because those give you more abilities to catch fish, right? More there. So there's a lot of customization you can do based on what you're trying to do here. And as you go deeper in round after round after round, you're going to start catching fish that you've already caught, all right? And so that means that it's harder to find the ones that now become rare by default because you haven't caught them yet. So you're going to have to figure out, well, can I get some better equipment to help me, figure out what I'm going to get so I'm not just top decking all the time. Maybe I'm going to be looking at different things. Like for instance, you do start with this can of worms that allows you to peek at one fish, put it back on the top or the bottom of the shoal. So that might help you get deeper, but there's a lot of other stuff in this game that lets you do that as well. So that is basically the mechanic, and that is basically the solo game. Now, you don't get to do any of the port actions during the game that you get in the multiplayer, so you're not going to be buying different rods, reels, supply, or dice like you'd normally do. You also don't get to do any of the eating abilities, which change the way that there's all sorts of effects, really. You can get rid of these regrets. You can change different things. You can increase your die. There's all sorts of effects you can do. The other thing is that you are not going to at all interact with this mechanic, which is a big part of the multiplayer game, where the more you get in the regrets, the fair market and the foul market value changes, and the maximum dice you can roll changes. So basically what happens is the more of these regret cards you take, not necessarily the regret value, but the regret cards, the more likely you're going to do better in having foul fish and in rolling more dice. And so it kind of changes the dynamic of what you're trying to get. So all of that is not present in the single solo player. All right, so let me tell you, and of course the other thing is that the solo player or the multiplayer goes for at least one more day. Could go for the same amount, but at least one more. So, okay, let me tell you what I think of the solo player of this game. Okay, so Deep Regrets has some really cool artwork, really cool theme. It integrates that very well into this game. However, from a solo standpoint, it isn't integrated nearly as much. And that's because the benefits of getting a bunch of foul fish there's almost no benefit except that you're trying to catch the fish that you need that you haven't caught yet in the solo. Whereas there's a ton of benefit for that in the multiplayer. And that basically gets me right to my point here. This game is two different games for sure in the box. There is a game that appeals to somebody who likes to have a competitive strategy with different cards that do reveal effects that affect other people. There's some coin flipping mechanisms that you get sometimes in the multiplayer. A lot of interaction like that in a relatively independent style game, right? That's of course not here in the solo game, but it's also not a game that has an automa or a beat your own score or anything like that as it's presented in the box. Now, I'm sure you could play beat your own score. I'm sure you could come up with some type of automa or some way to have it competitive that way, but there's nothing official there. And I've heard rumors that maybe something will come in the expansion that will allow for that. That'd be great. Expansion will come out next year or something like that. But the other thing is, and this I didn't talk about in the multiplayer, there is a whole thing of like the person who has the most madness, the most regrets, has to lose one of their trophy fish. And that's a big deal. That's a big situation. So there's a lot of this, not understanding exactly where people are in the regrets because you just know how many cards they have, but you don't know what the value is. The value can be anywhere from 0 to 3 per card. So there's a little bit of that guess and a little bit of that interaction, a lot of that interaction. And so the whole dynamic is just completely different. And that, if you like that, will depend completely, I think, on a couple things. Number one, do you like fishing themed games, and do you like putting together different combinations of equipment to try to catch certain fish and to try to catalog them? If you do, then you're going to really like the solo experience of this game. If you're more of a gamer, and you don't care about fishing, and you don't necessarily care about some of the theme or whatever, I think in general, the solo gamer is going to be a little bit underwhelmed. Maybe they'll have nagging regret, so to speak. Will they have deep regret? No, probably not. But I think that you're going to be a little bit bummed out that that doesn't exist in this game. And that's where I kind of fall in. I can kind of see the fun of the catalog, and I'm doing it right now, and I'm enjoying that, okay. But that is going to have a limited ability. Like, that is a once and done. Like, I cannot imagine wanting to play the game again after I've cataloged everything. Now, how many games that take? It's going to be a lot. There's a lot of fish to catalog, right? And I don't know if I'm going to get through the whole thing because I think it's kind of cool and interesting, but it's not necessarily something that will really appeal to me game after game. And so I'm going to be looking for more details in that expansion for sure, because I like what's going on here. I like what I read about in the multiplayer. I think it sounds cool. And I'm going to try to find people to play this game with multiplayer. Usually I play everything solo. This is one that you can easily teach somebody how to play multiplayer, have a good time. It's light enough to do that, no problem. Even if you have non-gaming friends, you could do that. But I'm telling you right now, it's a whole different experience when you're playing on the solo side of things. And I think if you like categorizing and you like, you know, the idea of trying to get everything, so to speak, and it's kind of got that like, I don't want to say it's a rogue-lite game, but you know, luckily the equipment carries over from one to another, and it is cool to buy expensive equipment or equipment that's going to really help you. It's cool to get the fish you want to get. The more you fish, the harder that's going to be. There's a lot of good things there. Don't get me wrong. Not a bad solo game, but I just don't think it's going to appeal to everybody who doesn't like that sort of thing. So, you know, I would say be aware of that. If you don't think that that's going to be fun for you, then this solo game is not going to work. Now, the multiplayer game may work really well. You might really like it. You might play with people, and you might never want to play the solo, or you like to do both. But that's just what you're coming into. Now, when it comes to the ease of learning this game, very easy, no problems there. Very easy to learn the solo, and it should be something somebody can pick up relatively quickly. So I do give them kudos for there. I know they got some errata they're working through, and they'll deal with that. So I hope that they come out, but I haven't really seen a want to do this, to release some stickers and some other things for the actual cards and the other things you could print off on sticker paper and put it on there. And to me, that sounds like a great idea, especially when I have my card sleeved. You're not going to feel the marked card. It's sleeved. You have no problems. But you can kind of go over there and fix those little things that change things up. Major gameplay issues? No. A little confusion on some of the stuff? Yeah, a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. So don't get me wrong. I would not wait for another printing on this if you could find a copy and you really wanted to play it because of errata. Not at all. But I would say that be careful with the solo mode. It is definitely different. And I'm not sure how long it's going to last in my collection because of that. Unless the expansion, really switches that up. It looks like from information on the expansion that I've seen, it's going to put a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra cards. And if it includes that Automa, boom, that's great. I think then it's a winner. It's not that I don't like the solo as it is. It's just not going to last forever. So that's my thoughts on it. Hopefully that helps you to understand this is something that you want to do and you want to get into. And either way, I really hope that it was an informative video. And as I always say, thank you so very much for watching. Whatever you do in the future, I really hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy.